Hi. So there's a ton of Porsche 996 videos out on YouTube right now, and this is one more. But this is going to be a little bit different. One thing I haven't seen, a big and tall review of a Porsche 996. Let's go. So one of the other things about the Porsche 996 videos, there's all kinds of reactions and things like this. We're sitting here towards the end of July 2021, and I've owned this 996 for a week and 1 day. Why does that matter? Well, one of the reasons it matters is this is my first 911. It's really my first sports car. So my daily driver is a Subaru Outback, and I've been driving very happily Subarus for about the last decade, more or less. A couple different Outbacks, a Forester in there, and this is great. But a guy who worked for me, he drives a 997, always was talking about it. Saw a friend at the party, he had a 991. I was like, hey, how those do for big people? And he goes, I don't know, you want to find out? Sure. So I took him up on the offer and got behind the wheel of a 991 C4S. And, you know, being being a large person like I am, you can't tell when I'm seated, but I'm 6'6", a little north of 300. I'm NFL lineman size. I'm not an NFL lineman. But, yeah, and he's like, hey, you want to go for a drive? And was just, you know, immediately impressed. Not only that I fit and it was actually, you know, quite pleasurable to drive, but it was just, it was a nice experience. So my wife said, well, you should get one. I'm like, really? And, you know, I'd been paying attention to the market a little bit, but anyway, long story short, over several weeks, I put an offer on a couple, including this one. Things weren't working out at the time with the offers and the money I was willing to pay. Made a wrong turn. So anyway, fast forward to the middle of last week, a car I'd put a bid on, the dealer let me know that they had a price update. Went up to Michigan, did a test drive, and came home with a car. And gotta tell you, the first week with this thing, what's not to love? I mean, it's an 18-year-old car. It's not perfect. It is a 2003 C4S with a Triptronic. We'll go over a cockpit video here in a second, but anyway, you know, drove it home 4 hours from Michigan. Loved every second of it. And been just running around town. My other car's still in Michigan at the dealership because I had to go up there by myself. So I'm going to bring that back. It's going to be interesting going from the Outback, or from the 911 back to the Outback while we're out for a little bit. But it's yeah, I really can't say enough good things about this. So but hey, you know, lots of people doing 996 videos are telling you the exact same thing right now. Well, here's some of my first impressions with the car in general. You know, owning and driving an 18-year-old sports car, and also my impressions as a, you know, a big guy in a small car. So let's get into just about the car. You know, again, it's 18 years old. Again, I'm in a 996 C4S Triptronic. I'm about to click over as I say this right now. My odometer reads 89999. About to trip over 90,000 on this. Again, I mean, I can't say enough good things about just the way it drives, the way it handles. I've taken it on some bendy roads. It just doesn't, it just wants to turn. It wants to be driven with some oomph. And, you know, if you like sports cars and you're into these kinds of things, this is definitely worth a look. The market for the 996s right now, I think, is a bit of a roller coaster. I got what I consider to be a very good deal, certainly a deal I was happy with. Bought it directly from a Porsche dealer in central Michigan. Had a great experience with them. Sarah Auto Group. If you're looking, I can't say enough good things about the interaction that I had with them. Some of the things I've noticed about the car in general, it's an 18-year-old car, so it's got probably a few more clicks and squeaks and things like that, but looking over some of the online forums and listening to other YouTube videos, that I'm not experiencing anything that isn't really common with 911s of this age. Let's see, it still seems to be a very strong motor. I limit the amount that I put my foot actually all the way in it because, hey, I'm still in the honeymoon phase with this car. Like I said, this is really my first sports car, and I don't want to get too bent. But no, it accelerates with authority. Still feels like a strong motor. In a small car, I mean, it zips. And again, can't say. I think I've said this a few times. I can't say enough good things about this car. The other things about just generally the car itself, it's a pretty, I think, bare bones for what the C4S options were at the time. Black leather interior, I'll show you that in a bit. It's got the single CD in it, no CD changer up front, no sport exhaust, so Triptronic, Porsche stability management, you got that option to turn on and off. You've got, black instrument gauge. Hey, there's 90,000 on the odometer. The steering wheel telescopes. It's got power seats on both sides with the lumbar support. Sunroof up here. And I think the only other feature of note that's not on every 911 is the rear windshield wiper. The guy who used to work for me said those are coveted by some of the Porsche folks. I'm still getting my education in this world, so if you like it, leave a comment. So now into some thoughts about being in a sports car and being an above average size human being. I don't have a ton of headroom, so I think one of the things I will not be doing in this car is a track day, because me in a helmet in this car, unless I was laying all the way back, I just don't think I could do it safely. Another thing about the 996, just from a drivability standpoint that I noticed, I did a short test drive on a regular Carrera 2 here in Indianapolis that had a manual transmission. I hadn't driven the manual, like I said. The one that I actually drove before this was a 991, which had a PDK, automatic transmission. And I was able to drive it. I drove manual cars for a very long time before I drove Subarus. And I just, with the way being able to sit, mostly upright and work the clutch, and the way the steering wheels are in these cars, was not a safe thing for me to do. I mean, I did go on the test drive, but if I had to turn and operate the clutch at the same time, I think I would be in trouble, really. So if you're a taller person, especially with larger legs, that clearance right there between the door handle and the steering wheel down at like the 7 o'clock position is really something you need to watch out for. It told me that, hey, my world is going to be an automatic transmission if I'm going to look at a 911. That said, this car does have the Triptronic with the steering wheel controls. I get in and I put it in drive, it goes. The Triptronic, when I'm in that mode, I select a gear and it shifts, and it seems to be fairly quick. Some people say they could shift a manual faster than Triptronic. Maybe you can. Seems to be pretty quick to me. I'm not saying, oh God, is that awful? No, it's a sports car. It acts like a sports car. There's people who would have nothing less than a manual transmission. Completely respect that. But from a big and tall perspective, I think it's really something, especially if you're on the big side of tall. Just do a test drive, sort that part out before you go further. As far as just interior space, headroom is really the only thing I'm lacking. Like I said, my first real drive in this outside of the test drive was a 4-hour trip home, and I was completely comfortable, surprisingly so. I even told my wife and my friend as I was going down the road, I am surprised how much I liked it. I knew I was going to like it, right? I mean, I bought it. But it is a smaller car. It is a sports car, and you're not familiar. And again, you got to deal with, long legs and, all that piece. I have a 34-inch inseam. And, with me, in this car, I don't like to lay back any more than I have to. I'd rather sit upright. But I can extend my left leg, behind the brake pedal safely. I don't have any problems depressing the pedal or anything like that, which allows me to straighten my left leg. Was great. It has cruise control, which again, on that long drive going up and down an interstate, made for a really pleasurable experience. So as far as once you're in the car driving around, I have zero complaints. I'd like to maybe have an inch more headroom, but that's probably not going to happen unless I figure out a way to lower the seats. If there is an option for that, leave me a comment. But yeah, the other, I think, big factor with just being a bigger person in a 911 is, I'm going to go around the block, is just getting in and out of the car. I'm not going to actually add that to the video because this is supposed to be informative, not entertainment. And my wife says, I'm surprised how well you get in and out of that. And I'm like, no thanks. The kind of the bigger thing is just, making the twist to get out the left side and getting, big person, big feet, getting them out the door and just turned. It's smaller person would have a much easier time than somebody my size, but here I am. So, in any event, those are some of the things as far as just driving with a 911 and being a bigger person, things you need to watch out for. In here, we'll do a bit of a tour of the car. And you got any questions about being a big and tall driver in a 911? Hit me in the comments.